Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode. We're going to be working on Unit 4, Lessons 1 and 2. Our topic of the day is Science and Technology. I'm sure you're going to guess what this is going to be about. Think about our educational system and how we'd like to improve it and make it better. So what do you think we can use to do that? I'm sure we can embed many different parts of science and technology together. So let's get started and see our learning objectives of the day. Okay, we're going to introduce the idea of STEM schools to the students, and we're going to read an article about STEM schools, and we will answer questions. Then we will use might or must or can't be correctly. So, do you think that more or fewer people in the future will need to understand modern technology for their jobs? What do you think? Do you think it's okay to continue and start new jobs without technology, or is it essential for our modern world? Think about it and write your answers in your notebooks. Now we're going to be reading an article about STEM schools, and then we will fill in the blanks with the correct vocabulary word in red. Today, knowing how to use modern technology is essential because people use it every day in schools, at home, and at work. It can't be easy if you don't know how to use a computer or send an email. People with many different jobs, such as teachers, engineers, and scientists, all need to understand how to use the latest technology. Students who are very good at STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and maths, can also help develop the technology of the future. STEM schools are special schools which focus on developing students' ability in these subjects. There are now STEM schools around the world where lessons are different to those in usual schools. Teachers encourage students to do projects where they work together to solve problems. A lesson might be about how fast a ball falls through the air, or it might be using data to make a graph. Expert teachers help the students through the projects and check their results. In Egypt, there are now STEM schools around the country, and more will be built in the future. STEM schools students must be hardworking. All their lessons are in English, so that they can understand and use scientific texts from around the world while they study. Experts say that there will be many more jobs in the future that need skills in STEM subjects. When they finish studying, STEM school students will be able to work in exciting jobs that will use the skills that they have learned. So I'd like you to look at the words in red, our new vocabulary words. The first one is essential. The second one is focus. The third one is encourage. And the fourth one is data. The fifth and last one is expert. Now, if we look at the right-hand side, which of the red words in the text mean the following? If you have very special skills, you probably are an expert in something. So when I use the word expert, I use it to describe someone or something that has special skills. So we use it as an adjective to describe another noun. Let's look at number 2. To give all your attention to something. Now we're going to be looking for a verb. So let's look at our vocabulary words and try to find a word. So focus and encourage are both verbs. So maybe we can choose one of them. Let's see. To give all your attention to something. This is focus. So to focus is to give your attention to something. If I care about someone, I will focus with that person. I will give all my attention and all my care to that person. So it is an action that is done to show care or love or attention. Let's move on to number 3. Information or facts. Information or facts is a noun. So we can look at the words and try to guess which one is the noun. We have the words data, the word essential, and the word expert. Now, if I'm going to be looking at information, to make a graph, for example, I would be looking at data or data. So number 3 is data, which is a noun. Let's move on to number 4. To make someone really like or do something. If I want to make someone really like or do something, I would most probably encourage them, right? You would most probably try and make them like something or do something, such as your mom when she tries to encourage you to eat, or when your mother trying to encourage you to finish your homework or help her clean the house. There are many ways to encourage people, and hopefully they would all be positive, not negative. So number 4 is encourage, which is to make someone really like or do something, which is a verb as an action. Let's move on to number 5. Very important. If something is very important, it is probably essential. So number 5 is essential. We use this word to describe a noun. So we use essential as an adjective. Number 5 is essential. Let's move on to the next activity, the true or false activity. Are these sentences true or false based on the reading passage that we just finished reading about STEM schools? The first one is done for us. Let's read it together. STEM school students don't usually understand new technology. Of course, this is false because STEM students are able to understand new technology. Let's move on to number 2. There are STEM schools in many different countries. Is this true or false? Of course, this is true. STEM is becoming more and more popular every day, every minute. Let's move on to number 3. Science lessons are the same in STEM schools as in usual schools. Do you agree that science lessons in STEM schools are the same as our regular or usual schools? This is definitely not. Lessons are different to those in usual schools because students work together to solve problems. So in STEM schools, students work together. So number 3 is F for false. Let's move on to number 4. There will be more STEM schools in Egypt in the future. There will be more STEM schools in Egypt in the future. What do you guys think? Do you think STEM schools are becoming more popular in Egypt? This is definitely true. So number 4 is T for true. Number 5. Let's move on to number 5. STEM school students only study science in English. STEM school students only study science in English. Is this true? This is false. They study all their lessons in English and not just science. Our next activity for lesson 2 is modal verbs. Do you remember modal verbs from last lesson? Okay, let's check it together. Underline the modal verbs with be in these sentences. The first one is done for us. It can't be easy if you don't know how to use a computer or send an email. So we're going to underline can't be. Let's move on to number 2. A lesson might be about how fast a ball falls through the air. So what are we going to underline here? Let's look for the modal verb, which is probably might be. So we're going to underline might be. I suggest you write it down in your notebooks so that we can work together. Number 3, it might be using data to make a graph. So what are we going to underline here as well? Let's look for the modal verb. The modal verb is different from the regular verb. And we're going to underline number 3, might be as well. Let's move on to number 4. STEM school students must be hardworking. So if I want to underline a modal verb, I will probably underline must be. Must be. Okay. Now let's jump to our grammar box of the day. Expressing certainty and uncertainty. So if I'm sure about something or I'm positive about something, I will express certainty. But if I'm not sure, I will express uncertainty. Now what's the difference between them? Let's take a look how we're going to use them. If I say I might go shopping, does this express certainty or uncertainty? It probably expresses uncertainty because we're not sure if we're going shopping or not. There's a 50-50 chance. Okay, what about must? If I say I must do it, You must do it. It probably means that it's important, it's essential. So this expresses certainty more than uncertainty. What about can't be? If I say, this lesson can't be done, in that case, this expresses uncertainty or being unsure about something. We can use these modal verbs to say how sure we are about something. We use might to say that we are not sure. The phone is ringing. It might be Aunt Mona, but I'm not sure. If there's a lot of traffic, I might be late. So both saying it might be Aunt Mona, that means I'm not sure if it's Aunt Mona. And if I say I might be late, it means that I'm not sure if I'm going to be late or not. Let's move on to the next section of our grammar box. We use must be when we feel sure that something is true or when we feel sure about it. If I say, you must be Salma's sister, you look very familiar. So I'm guessing that this person is Salma's sister, and it probably means that I am quite sure or quite certain that this is in fact Salma's sister. So we use must be when we are more sure about something or we feel that something is true. Let's go on to the third usage. We use can't be when we feel sure something is not true. So if I think that something is not true, I will use can't be. That can't be a real dinosaur. There aren't any dinosaurs on Earth. In that case, I am not sure that this is a real dinosaur. So I express it through using can't be. Now, I want you to remember that might means unsure about something. Must means you're sure about something. Can shows that you're sure about something, that it's true. Can't be expresses that you are unsure about something. Now, I'm going to ask you to complete the sentences with might, must, or can't be. The first one is done for you. Let's read it together. That can't be Ali in the street. He's gone away on holiday for 2 weeks. So, we're probably expressing that Ali is not there. So, the person in the street is probably not Ali. Let's look at number 2. In this photo, everyone is wearing warm clothes. It blank very cold there. If I'm quite sure about something, what will I use? I will probably use must be. It must be very cold there. Let's move on to number 3. I'm not sure what the weather will be like tomorrow. It blank hot or windy. So what can I use if I'm not sure if something is hot or windy? What would I say? I would probably use might be. So if I'm not sure, I will use might be. Our key word here is not sure. So always look for keywords to help you guess the correct usage or the correct modal verb to use. Let's look at number 4. Is this Nadia's bag? It blank. Let's see if her books are in it. So if we're not sure that this is Nadia's bag, what might we say? We might say it might be. So if I find the bag and I'm guessing that it's for a girl, but I'm not sure, what will I do? I will say it might be her bag. It might be. Okay, let's move on to number 5. You've been working very hard today, Mom. You blank tired. So I'm probably guessing that Mom is not feeling well because she's been working hard. So I would probably tell her, must be. You must be tired. If somebody's working extremely hard, they must be tired. So number 5 is must be. That means I'm quite sure that Mom is tired, or I'm quite certain that Mom is tired. Let's move on to number 6. This blank Hassan's bike. He doesn't have one. So if I'm sure that this is not Hassan's bike, I will say can't be. So this can't be Hassan's bike. He doesn't have one. Now let's jump to exercise 3. Let's look at the 4 pictures together. The picture on the lower left hand side is a picture of a man who's probably tired or resting or sleeping. And the man in the middle is actually going for a run or a jog. In that case, that person might be quite fit. And the girls here look happy because they're smiling. They seem to be having fun. If we read the speech bubble on the right-hand side, it says, the man on the train might be bored. So we're actually practicing using the words might, must be, or can't be based on the pictures. So let's give it a try together. The man who is running must be fit. The girls can't be sad because they're having fun. I'd like to thank you guys today. This is a wrap. Today we have introduced the idea of STEM schools to students. We have read an article about STEM schools and answered questions. We have used might, must, and can't be correctly. Thank you guys. You did a great job today. This was Ms. Sara Bassiouni. I'll see you soon. Bye.